Let me ask you something. When was the last time you truly listened? I'm not talking about hearing words. I'm talking about listening with your heart. Today, I bring you a voice you don't hear every day. It's not the voice of the young, not the voice of the rich or the famous. No, today, I bring you the voice of a 92-year-old woman, a woman who has lived long enough to see life in its raw, unfiltered truth. She does not speak with the pride of opinions. She speaks with the quiet power of experience, with the calm authority that only comes from walking through decades of joy, pain, failure, and faith. And when she speaks, you'll want to lean in. This isn't the story of a mighty king, a warrior draped in glory, or a scholar buried in books. This is the story of a woman, simple, unseen by the crowds, yet deeply wise, a woman who has witnessed life in every season. She has danced in moments of joy and wept through storms of sorrow. She has seen the rise and collapse of what the world proudly calls greatness. And when she speaks, when she speaks, you would do well to listen. I remember her sitting there, quietly, her hands, soft but worn by time, gently folded in her lap, her face, beautifully etched with the lines of countless smiles, silent tears, and whispered prayers. And when she finally spoke, her voice didn't tremble, it was steady, firm, carrying a depth that could only come from a lifetime of walking with God. I have lived long enough, she began, to know that most men are chasing the wrong things. Her voice was calm but piercing. They spend their precious days working, striving, worrying, building up treasures they cannot keep. They pour their lives into things that time, like a quiet thief, will one day take away. I leaned closer, drawn in. There was something different about her words. She wasn't offering her opinion. She was handing me a truth wrapped in the soft paper of her life's story. She continued, her eyes distant, as if revisiting the faces of people she'd once known. So many believe happiness is found in money, in success, in collecting more. They chase it as if it's a finish line, thinking that once they finally reach it, they'll find peace. But I have lived too long to let that lie stand unchallenged. That kind of happiness will always slip through your fingers. The more you have, the more you will want. You climb one mountain, and immediately, there's another one staring back at you. That's the rhythm of the world. It keeps you running, but it never lets you rest. She paused then, her gaze lifting toward the sky as if searching for something beyond what eyes can see. And then she looked back at me, her voice steady. Let me tell you the truth, she said softly. The richest man isn't the one with the most wealth. The strongest man isn't the one who wins the most battles. The happiest man isn't the one wrapped in comfort. No, the richest, the strongest, the happiest man is the one who has peace in his soul. And that peace doesn't come from this world. It comes from God, God alone. Her words struck something deep in me. How many times have we fallen for the lie that just a little more would finally be enough? How often do we measure success by the weight of our wallets rather than the weight of our hearts? But she, this woman who had walked through nearly a century, told me plainly, true wealth is not in possessions, it is in faith. True strength is not in conquering, it is in surrendering to God. True happiness is not in comfort, it is in knowing your life has meaning far beyond yourself. She sighed, the kind of sigh that comes from seeing generations chase what will not last. People spend their whole lives searching for what's already within their reach. She said, they search for love while love sits right in front of them, waiting to be given. They chase peace while peace quietly waits in the trust of the one who holds tomorrow. They long for purpose but look for it in all the wrong places. Purpose isn't in chasing the wind, it's in serving others and walking humbly with your Creator. She leaned forward, her gaze now locked on mine. Unwavering. Son, she whispered, if you truly want to live a life that matters, remember this. You won't be remembered for what you owned. You won't be remembered for how important you thought you were. You will be remembered for how deeply you loved, how boldly you believed, and how faithfully you walked with your God. That is the only legacy that stands the test of time. I sat there, silent, letting her words soak into the quiet spaces of my heart. She didn't need fancy speeches. She didn't need clever stories. She spoke with the rare kind of clarity this world so often forgets. And as I listened, I realized, I had just been handed something more precious than all the treasures men chase. Simple, timeless truth. She sat back in her chair, hands resting calmly in her lap, her face still but filled with the richness of years. She had seen more than most. She had survived seasons of plenty and seasons of hardship. And when she spoke, there was no performance, just truth. Most people, she said softly, are running after things that won't last. They think they're building something that matters, but they're chasing shadows. I leaned in again, not wanting to miss a word. She didn't speak quickly. She didn't try to sound impressive. But every word she spoke carried weight, as though it had been tested by fire, by prayer, by time. People spend their days worrying about money, about their image, about what others think, she said, but the things you lose sleep over now? Most of them won't even matter in a few years. And when you stand before God someday, none of them will matter at all. She paused, letting the silence remind me of the gravity of her words. I've seen men rise and fall. She continued. The rich, the powerful, the admired. They shine for a moment and then they fade. I've seen people gather wealth their whole lives, only to leave this world with nothing in their hands. That's life. Nothing here lasts, but most people live like it does. She shook her head gently, her voice never losing its quiet strength. Real peace, real joy, real security. They don't come from what you hold, they come from who holds you. You can have everything the world offers and still feel empty. And you can have almost nothing but still feel rich, if you have faith, love, and peace in your heart. She looked straight at me, her eyes full of tenderness and certainty. Do you know why people are always restless? Because they're trying to fill a space in their hearts that was never meant to be filled by money, by success, by people. That space was made for God. And until you give Him that space, you will always feel like something is missing. She paused once more, letting me absorb every word. But it's not just about knowing God, she added. It's about living like you know Him. Too many people say they believe, but they live like they don't. They hold grudges. They chase empty things. They forget to be kind. They forget to be grateful. But the way you live, that's the proof of what you really believe. Her hands, worn by years of labor, rested gently as she spoke her final words. Love, kindness, faith, that's what matters. The way you treat people, the way you forgive, the way you serve, those are the things that last. She smiled, a soft, knowing smile. When I leave this world, I don't want people to remember what I owned. I want them to remember the love I gave, the faith I held, and the kindness I shared. I sat quietly, her words echoing in my soul. She wasn't teaching me something new. She was reminding me of something true, something we all know, but so often forget. People spend their lives chasing what is already within their reach. They run after happiness, yet happiness is hidden in gratitude. They chase love, yet love is found in giving, not in receiving. They search for peace, but peace comes not from control, it comes from trust in God. She gave me one last look, warm and filled with grace. Son, don't wait until you're my age to learn this. Life is shorter than you think. Don't waste it chasing things that don't matter. Live in a way that leaves no regrets. Live in a way that makes a difference. Live in a way that pleases God. And with that, she leaned back into her chair, quietly resting, as if she had said all that needed to be said. But those few words, they changed everything. The words she spoke before still echoed in my heart, like ripples on a quiet lake. She had just handed me something truly priceless, the kind of wisdom that doesn't come from books or fleeting opinions, but from a life deeply lived. And that, my friends, is a fact, a truth that sadly, few people ever pause long enough to understand. She sat there, quietly, her hands resting softly in her lap, her eyes filled with the light of years that had taught her things most of us spend a lifetime missing. She had seen more than most, lived through seasons of struggle, moments of overflowing joy, and everything in between. And when she finally spoke, her voice was calm, steady, and carried the quiet strength of someone who had weathered life's fiercest storms. Son, she said, her voice as gentle as the breeze. Most people live as if this life is all there is. They live as if what they see, what they touch, and what they build will last forever. She paused, letting the weight of her words settle between us. But that's a fact few men know. Everything you see, everything you cling to in this world, will one day fade away. And when that day comes, the only thing that will truly matter is what you did for God, and how you loved others. I leaned in, listening with every part of me. She wasn't rushing. There was no pressure in her voice. No need to convince. It was simply the truth, spoken plainly, as if she had carried it in her heart for a very long time. I've lived long enough, she continued, to see how people spend their lives chasing after things that won't last. They think if they just make a little more money, they'll finally find peace. If they gain more power, they'll feel secure. If they collect more praise, they'll finally be satisfied. She shook her head slowly, a shadow of sadness passing across her face. But I've seen men who had it all, money, fame, success, and still, they were empty. And I've seen people with almost nothing who were rich in ways this world will never understand. Her eyes softened, as if she was remembering all those she had seen fall into the same endless trap. Do you know why so many people feel restless, even when they have everything they ever dreamed of? She paused, waiting for me to really think. It's because they're trying to fill a space in their hearts that was never meant to be filled by the things of this world. There's only one thing that can truly fill that space, she said with quiet certainty. And that's God. Her words settled deep into me, like seeds finding good soil. I had heard people speak about faith before, but not like this. This wasn't just something she believed, it was something she had lived. Something she had proven, something she had tested through time, through loss, and through joy. I could see it in her eyes. She had found something real, something unshakable. She looked at me with a face that was both tender and firm. But son, she added, it's not just about knowing God, it's about the life you live. Too many people say they believe in something, but their lives tell a different story. They hold on to grudges. They chase after things that don't matter. They forget to love. They forget to be kind. Her voice softened but didn't lose its strength. If you want to live a life that truly matters, live with love, live with faith, live with purpose. She paused again, her gaze drifting as if she was choosing each word with care. People think they have all the time in the world, she said quietly. They put off doing what's right. They delay forgiveness. They push away the chance to make peace with God because they think they can do it tomorrow. But time is not promised to any of us. Her words struck me hard. I could see the truth in them. Life changes in a moment, a phone call, a diagnosis, a tragedy, a blessing. 1 second, everything seems perfectly fine, and the next, everything is forever different. Don't waste your time on things that won't matter in the end, she said, her voice carrying a quiet urgency. Use your time wisely. Spend it loving people. Spend it serving. Spend it drawing closer to what matters. Her voice softened, but her words only grew heavier with meaning. And remember this, what you leave behind isn't what you owned. It's not the size of your house or the number in your bank account. It's how you loved. That's what people will remember. They will remember the kindness you gave. They will remember your faith. They will remember your love. She leaned back in her chair, her eyes calm, yet filled with a depth that only time can carve. So, son, don't make the mistake of chasing after the wind. Don't live for what fades. Live for what matters. Live for God. Live for love. Live for something greater than yourself. She fell silent, but in that quiet space, I realized she had just spoken more truth in a few minutes than some people hear in their entire lives. And that, my friends, is a fact that few people ever truly come to understand. I sat with her words swirling in my heart, each one settling like gentle drops on dry ground. She sat there, still, her hands folded softly in her lap, her face peaceful but marked by the beautiful lines of many years. She had lived through times of joy and sorrow, seasons of abundance and seasons of struggle. And when she spoke, her voice was steady, never rushed, never uncertain, but always filled with the weight of lived experience. Son, she said, most people spend their lives chasing after things that don't last. They work, they worry, they strive, always believing that if they could just have a little more, they would finally find peace. She paused briefly, letting the words hang in the air. But that's a fact few men know. Peace doesn't come from what you have. It comes from who you are and who you trust. She continued, I've seen people with more money than they could ever spend, yet no joy in their hearts. I've seen men with power who could command thousands, yet couldn't quiet their own fears. And I've seen people who had almost nothing, no wealth, no fame, no earthly success, walk through life with a peace and strength that nothing could shake. Do you know why? Because they had faith. They didn't trust in what fades away. They trusted in God, and that, son, made all the difference. She leaned forward, her eyes locked on mine. The trouble with most people is they spend all their time storing up treasures that won't last. They fight for success, wealth, and recognition, believing those things will make their life meaningful. But son, one day every possession you own will belong to someone else. Every title you carry will be forgotten. Every trophy you chase will fade into the past. And when that moment comes, the only thing that will truly matter is the kind of person you were. I sat there, silent, letting her words break through the noise of what I had always been told to chase. She wasn't giving me something complicated. She was handing me something deeply simple, something I already knew, but so often forgot. She went on, her voice steady. I've seen people come and go. Some left behind wealth, some left behind big names. But the ones I remember, truly remember, are the ones who left behind love. Not power, not fame, not fortune, just love. The way they treated people, the way they forgave, the way they helped without expecting anything in return. That's what lasts. That's what matters. She sighed, gently shaking her head. The world will tell you that happiness is found in having more, in being more, in doing more, but the world is wrong. True happiness is found in gratitude. It's found in loving what you already have. It's found in cherishing the people around you. It's found in trusting that God's plan is far bigger than your worries. Her voice softened again, but the weight of her words became even heavier. Let me tell you something else. Time is not promised. I've seen people wait too long to do what matters most. They wait to forgive. They wait to love. They wait to make peace with God. But sometimes, one day, later never comes. And when that day arrives, they look back with regret. She looked at me one final time, her eyes filled with both kindness and certainty. Don't let that be you, son. Whatever is good, do it now. Whatever is right, do it today. Don't waste your life chasing things that don't matter. Her final words rested on my heart like the closing lines of a sacred letter. One day, your life will be remembered. And when people speak of you, it won't be the money you made or the titles you held that they remember. It will be the love you gave, the kindness you showed, and the faith you lived by. That, son, is your true legacy. That is what will last. And with that, she leaned back, silent once more. But in those moments, she had gifted me something that time could never steal, a truth that most people spend a lifetime chasing, yet never find. And that, my friends, is a fact, one that few people ever truly come to understand. Her words from before still lingered in my mind like the final notes of a beautiful song. She had just reminded me that what we chase in this life often fades, but what we give, especially love, lasts forever. And now, she continued, offering even more of the wisdom her years had carved into her soul. I've seen people spend their whole lives working, she said softly, pouring their days and nights into the belief that if they could just make enough money, they would finally find peace. She paused, her gaze distant as if watching memories unfold. But I've also seen those same people reach the top, make the money, buy the house, gather the things, only to realize something heartbreaking. They were still empty inside. She looked at me, her eyes steady. Money can buy you a house, but it can't buy you a home. It can buy comfort, but it can't buy joy. It can buy medicine, but it can't buy health. Her words hung in the air, quiet but undeniable. There's nothing wrong with working hard, she continued. But son, don't ever make the mistake of thinking that money will give your life meaning. She paused again, as if giving me space to really hear her. And then she went on. Then, there are those who chase after success, power, recognition. They work so hard because they want to be admired. They want to be respected. They want people to remember their names. She leaned in slightly, her voice firm but kind. But son, let me tell you something. One day, every title you've earned will be forgotten. Every award you've won will gather dust. Every achievement you fought for will fade into the background of history. Her voice softened, but it didn't lose its weight. When your time comes, none of those things will matter. The only thing that will truly matter is how you lived, how you loved, how you treated the people around you. She leaned forward a little more, her expression growing serious. And you know what else I've learned? People spend so much time worrying. They worry about the future, about what others think, about things they can't control. She shook her head gently. But worry is a thief. It steals your joy, it steals your peace, and in the end, it changes nothing. Her voice slowed, as if she wanted me to let each word sink in. The things you're worrying about today, most of them won't even matter a year from now. And even the things that will matter, worrying still won't fix them. So what should you do? Trust God, do your best, and let go of the rest. She sighed, her face softening. But if there's one thing I've learned in all my years, one truth I know with every part of me, it's this: love is the only thing that truly lasts. Her words were simple, but they landed like a gentle, undeniable truth. People won't remember what you owned. They won't remember how impressive your job title was. But they will remember how you made them feel. They will remember your kindness. She looked at me, her eyes filled with a deep understanding. At the end of your life, the only thing that will matter is the love you gave to your family, to your friends, to those in need. That's your real legacy. That's what lasts. Her voice grew softer, but somehow it felt even stronger. And son, don't wait. Don't wait to say, I love you. Don't wait to forgive. Don't wait to make things right. So many people put off the most important things, thinking they'll have time later. But time, she paused, her eyes suddenly heavy. Time is not promised. She shook her head, a quiet sadness in her expression. I've seen too many people leave this world with regrets, not because of what they did, but because of what they didn't do. They waited too long to forgive. They waited too long to love. They waited too long to live the way they knew they should. Her voice became tender, almost like a loving whisper. Don't let that be you. Whatever is good, do it now. Whatever is right, do it today. Don't waste your life chasing things that don't matter. She leaned back in her chair, her eyes filled with the weight of 1,000 moments, as if she had lived 100 lives within her own. Her words, though few, carried the power of a lifetime. So live with faith, she said gently. Love without condition. Let go of what doesn't matter. And when your time comes, you won't have to be afraid to leave this world. Because in the end, the only thing that will truly matter is how well you lived, how deeply you loved, and how faithfully you walked with God. She didn't need to say anything more. In those few words, she had given me something more valuable than I could ever measure. She had given me a truth that few people truly come to understand. And that, my friends, is a fact. She sat there quietly, her hands resting softly in her lap, her face calm yet etched with the lines of many years, years filled with joy, sorrow, abundance, and hardship. When she spoke again, her voice remained steady, each word carrying the weight of a life lived fully. Son, she said, most people spend their lives chasing things that don't last. They work, they worry, they strive, always thinking that if they can just have a little more, they will finally find peace. She paused, letting her words settle deeply. But that's a fact few men know. Peace doesn't come from what you have. Peace comes from who you are, and from who you trust. She continued, her voice never faltering. I've seen people with more money than they could ever spend, but they had no joy in their hearts. I've seen men with power who could control thousands, yet they couldn't control their own fears. And I've seen people who had almost nothing, no wealth, no fame, no grand success, walk through life with a peace and strength that no storm could shake. She looked at me, her gaze unwavering. Do you know why? It's because they had faith. They didn't place their trust in things that fade away. They placed their trust in God. And that made all the difference. Her hands rested gently on her lap as she leaned forward once more. The trouble with most people is they spend all their time storing up treasures that won't last. They fight for success. They fight for wealth. They fight for recognition, believing those things will make their life meaningful. But son, one day, every possession you own will belong to someone else. Every title you hold will be forgotten. Every achievement you chase will fade into history. She let that truth linger before she continued. And when that moment comes, the only thing that will truly matter is the kind of person you were. I sat in silence, letting the truth soak into me. She wasn't offering complicated lessons. She was offering something deeply simple, something I already knew in my heart but too easily forgot. I've seen people come and go, she said softly. Some left behind wealth, some left behind big names. But the ones I remember, truly remember, are the ones who left behind love. Not power, not money, not status, just love. She smiled gently, her eyes distant as if recalling precious memories. The way they treated people, the way they forgave, the way they helped without expecting anything in return. That's what lasts. That's what matters. She shook her head with a soft sigh. The world will tell you that happiness is found in having more, in being more, in doing more, but the world is wrong. Real happiness is found in gratitude, in loving what you already have, in cherishing the people around you, in trusting that God's plan is bigger than your worries. Her voice softened again, but her words were as firm as ever. Let me tell you something else. Time is not promised. I've seen people wait too long to do the most important things. They wait to forgive, they wait to love, they wait to make peace with God. But sometimes, later never comes, and when that day finally arrives, they look back with regret. She looked at me one last time, her gaze filled with both warmth and certainty. Don't let that be you. Whatever is good, do it now. Whatever is right, do it today. Don't waste your life chasing things that won't last. Her final words wrapped around me like a soft but firm embrace. One day, your life will be remembered. And when people speak of you, it won't be the money you made or the titles you held that they remember. It will be the love you gave, the kindness you showed, and the faith you lived by. That, son, is your true legacy. That is what will last. And with that, she leaned back quietly, as if she had spoken all that needed to be spoken. She had given me something priceless, the kind of wisdom that only comes from a life well lived. And that, my friends, is a fact, one that few men ever truly come to understand. Hoi Chat GPT.